Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. So, today is going to be all about Grand Bahama. But before I dive into the conversation, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the ways that you can be a part of today's show. The telephone numbers to call are 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272, or WhatsApp us at 801-0271, 801-0271. And that WhatsApp can be via call or text. We are streaming live on Facebook, on the official Michelle Malcolm Facebook page, as well as the official Global 99.5 FM page. And you can also catch us on YouTube, on the official channels, or on Cable Bahamas channel 974. So that's how you can get in on the show. Of course, our Facebook viewers are always welcome to put a comment up on the Facebook page, and we're going to try to get as many of them into the broadcast as we can. My guest today is C. Alan Johnson, critical thinker from Grand Bahama. You all know him well. He's a regular here on GPS, and especially when it comes to anything to do with Grand Bahama, you'll swear this man navel string berry in Grand Bahama, but I know you from Nassau because we grew up right around the corner from each other. So I don't know how come all of a sudden Grand Bahama is, his passion, but anyhow, it is what it is. And he's been after me to do the show for a long, long time. And I always would say, okay, let's do it. And then something would come up and then the topic would change and, so I'm finally getting to this topic today that C. Alan has wanted to cover for a very, very, very long time. And the question is, when it comes to the future of the economy of the Bahamas, do you have to go through the road of Grand Bahama? Is Grand Bahama at the center of the future of our country economically? And if so, is that message falling on deaf ears? Is it being missed altogether by the powers that be? So this is what we're going to be talking about on the show today. C. Alan, welcome back to GPS.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is actually, timing is always right. Now that I see that the conversation is coming back now with the financial people in New Providence, the chamber people here, and there's plenty conversation on the ground in regards to what's new, and what's next for Grand Bahama.
Yeah. This conversation is a long time coming, I guess, because those of us who are old enough to remember Grand Bahama was the gem I mean, that was, oh boy, to the degree that Grand Bahamians used to look down on the rest of us. Say, all y'all jump up on that little rock, man, y'all ain't saying nothing. And if you look at what is happening in Grand Bahama today and what has been happening now for several years, it is truly a mere shadow of its past former glory, its past self. And many things have contributed to where Grand Bahama is today. Um, Successive natural disasters, hurricanes, etc., that really just did the island right in. And before you could recover from one, the next one would hit. And then you got all of the drama with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and you've got the sale of the main, that which was once the main, one of the major revenue generators for the island, meaning the Grand Lucayan Hotel, and the failures therein as it relates to that. And then you've got the challenges with the power and light company there, and the 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 prices that they're charging you for electrical services. Those are just some of the things that are contributing to what has led to the degradation of Grand Bahama, to the degree where the economy is pretty much in shambles. People are having a hard time making a decent living there. And you drive through the island, and the infrastructure has, been totally devastated from successive storms, including the monster storm Dorian, and things are just really not good. And yet, C. Allen Johnson believes that this is where the future lies. So, C. Allen, against that backdrop, what are your views as it relates to why Grand Bahama is where it is today? We have to start there. We have to, if you don't know where you come from, you sure ain't gonna know where you're going. So, how did we get to this place?
One word: leadership.
Oh dear.
That's it. One word: leadership. The Grand Bahama has been lacking leadership going back to the year 2000. And I know people like to use the jump off point of the saying that the hurricane was it. But I think if you go back and begin to look at 2001 with the 9/11, you'll begin to see the impacts that has went back, because that's when the tourism model began to suffer some damage, and the whole economy began to have some sort of issue. The problem we have is that from then to now, a lot of people don't realize that tourism was one of the major industries for Grand Bahama going back for almost 30, 40 years. We somehow seem to forget the dozens of hotels that actually and clubs and things that maintain the Grand Bahama infrastructure. We like to go back to Royal Oasis, but we had Shalimar, we had the Awak Hotel, we had the would be now called Memories, the Holiday Inn, and all of these different things was here. And so this was the life of actually of the whole Bahamas. In fact, they say two things: if you're not on Grand Bahama, you're in jail. If you can't find a person, they're either in jail or in Grand Bahama. And so what happens then since then is that Grand Bahama was a vision built for almost 50 years ahead of its time that was expressed. In fact, if you look at Grand Bahama right now, I know people love to admire the roads and the infrastructure for Grand Bahama. These things are almost 60 years old, or 50 years at least, and they are still in conditions that it can actually compare to brand new roads on New Providence. And that's the type of quality of work that was put into Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama now, though, however, these roads were designed for 40 to 50 years, and we are well beyond the 50 years. So the infrastructure of Grand Bahama is to a point that they need to be addressed almost urgently, which gives us the opportune time to build forward, to build future focus. And Grand Bahama is the place. We have the landmass. We have the infrastructure. If you go to Grand Bahama let's use an example, 50 years ago. Are you hearing me, Michelle?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. context, because I'm somewhat seeing like I'm frozen. Sorry. If you go to Grand Bahama for 50 years ago, you'll see that Grand Bahama was built for 250 to 500,000 people. And that is before vertical construction actually took place on Grand Bahama. So now you can imagine the technology that has advanced so far. And we are still living on the auspices of what was built back then. Today,
Okay, now we've lost him. It seems that Seattle is having some kind of connectivity issue, and hopefully he'll be able to get back on to the broadcast as soon as possible. All right, so in the meantime, while we wait for him to reconnect, we know that there have been some announcements as of late as to some of the developments that are on the horizon for Grand Bahama. We heard about a $15 million solar farm investment that is soon to come. Well, they just recently, I believe, made us aware that this was coming. Let's go ahead and take a look at that soundbite while we wait for C. Allen to get back into the broadcast. This is the announcement of a $15 million solar farm investment on the island of Grand Bahama.
It was a red letter day over in the nation's second city as the Grand Bahama Port Authority and Lucayers Solar Power broke ground on a $15 million solar farm. And the project is also supported by the Inter-American Development Bank and will cover some 30 acres. President of LSP says that it's the first utility-scale solar plant here in the country, and the project will take about 10 months to complete.
So first step will be cleaning the site. Afterwards, we need to do all the measurement where we are going to pre-drill in order to micropile the structures. Then we do the mounting, the electromechanical stage, as it refers, and afterwards the commissioning.
There is no exact number on how many persons will be employed on the project. However, the authority noted some 70% of the engineers on the project are women. Sarah St. George, vice chair of the authority, explains the features and the plans.
This will make the solar panels 70% more resistant to wind than traditional solar panels. There are going to be other modifications, including a back sheet to protect the parts from salt corrosion, plus other cable features which will reduce wear and tear and degradation.
Now, Grand Bahama is no stranger to hurricanes, and according to Dave McGregor, president of the Grand Bahama Power Company, he says that the solar panels will be an added bonus in the wake of a hurricane here on the island. Now, what other benefits will the panels bring?
Will be supplied by renewable, clean, green energy. That'll equate to, that means we have to spend 6% less on heavy fuel oil that we currently import from outside the Bahamas. So fuel oil savings. So we want to fully play our part in helping the government get to its target and get beyond its target, quite frankly, of 30% renewable energy by 2030. We think Grand Bahama is well placed for that because we have land. It's a little trickier in Nassau, but we have land here.
GBPA Chief Investment Officer Derek Newell noted that the project has been in the pipeline for some 5 years and experienced delays, including Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19.
We are working on building a renewable or resilient Grand Bahama. And this is a part of building in resiliency. So what we want to do is start looking at how do we build resiliency into our power grid and make sure that if we ever face, unfortunately, with a catastrophic storm, that we have the resiliency in place to actually bounce back really quickly.
You know what's ironic? C. Allen just got knocked off because of issues with energy, electricity. Ironically, here in Nassau, in the area where I live, electricity was pretty much off for the entire morning. I left home with no electricity. And if we are hopeful, I see Alan coming back on now. Let's just wait until his compute. There we go. Uh, all right, see Alan, you're back on. I was saying that it's ironic because while you were gone, I played a clip with regard to groundbreaking for a solar farm there in Grand Bahama, and I said ironically, you got knocked off because of energy issues.
Yes, but let me just say, what happens is we every now and then we have these little inserts. The blackouts you guys experience on Grand Bahama, we have them about 4 times, 5 times a year, generally for about 5 minutes each time. And so very rarely do they extend longer than even 15 minutes.
Okay.
So the problem is not the energy. The problem is the cost of energy. One of the things I want to address. But since you played that clip, I want you to look at that clip, right? And begin to notice that they talked about this solar energy. This is something the Grand Bahama Power Company has been talking about for 15 years about renewable energy, wind energy, solar energy. And here's this company that came in. And, remember we had whole groundbreaking for the power company where they were saying that they were going to do a solar plant and all these other different things. It never happened. This company came in with financing from the IDB, and they went in and they're putting in a 5 megawatt solar plant. Grand Bahama consumes about 30 megawatts, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But instantaneously, they're now producing and making a profit. So energy at selling it to the power company at about 9 cents, and we're paying well above 40 cents for power, for generation and fuel charge. So it begins to tell you, and remember now, they're only using, I think, maybe about 10 to 15 acres. We have hundreds of thousands of empty acres here on Grand Bahama. So an energy production type environment is not the issue. The fact is that we have not had leadership that has taken a sincere role in actually doing it. I'll put you that Grand Bahama can become energy sufficient in less than 18 months, including generating enough power for the industries and companies that has to come to Grand Bahama. We have just not made that decision. The government of the Bahamas has been acting as if though it is paralyzed in resolving the issue. The Grand Bahama Port Authority and the IRCA has a case in the courthouse that can easily be resolved in another house called the House of Assembly. Because whatever it is that they are claiming that IRCA doesn't have the authority to do can be solved by correcting the defect in the law, by just going to the House of Assembly and changing it. So this whole lawsuit, like how they have the shanty town, this lawsuit just sitting there for years and years is absolutely not necessary. But we have to have a strategy on Grand Bahama if we are to become who we are. Energy is the number one inhibitor from the Grand Bahama being what it has to be. And what do I mean by that? I want you to imagine that Grand Bahama can become the technology hub that everybody talks about. You have to draw back to that. A company in Miami is spending $1 million a month. A technology company is spending $1 million a month in Miami because they are paying 5 cents a kilowatt. Tell me why I would relocate to Grand Bahama to pay 10 times as much. Remember, I'm paying $1 million in Miami. I now am paying $8 to $10 million just for a light bill because I want to move to Grand Bahama.
Right.
Why would I do that? I don't care what you have there. That's just for my energy costs. So there are some small things in regards to what has to be done. The conversation is always about this Hawksbill Creek Agreement. Let me say, and I would like for somebody to talk me down on this. The Hawksbill Creek Agreement that is actually inception in 1955 was the most profound and most unique agreement anywhere in the world, then and now, today. The problem we're having is that when you hear people, these talking heads, talk about, oh, we got to get rid of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, oh, we have to do this. How do you jump to getting rid of the Grand Bahama Port Authority when the Grand Bahama Port Authority is an integral part of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement? You have people saying they're going to knock it down, but no one has ever came and have a conversation in its purity, like the Royal Commission report did, on what is the Hawksbill Creek Agreement and is the Hawksbill Creek Agreement relevant. Do not bring in the what is happening with the ownership, with the two owners, two family that runs the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Do not bring in the ineptness, the inability, or the incapability of government over the last 20 plus years. Don't bring any of those into the conversation. Let's just have a conversation on the Hawks Creek Agreement, what it is and what can be done with it. That's a conversation. No one today can tell you that they would, in their right mind, dissolve the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. So that would then begin to tell you then the problem then cannot be the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. So what we have begun to do is convolute and conflate what has happened on Grand Bahama under the Hawksbill Creek Agreement with it actually being the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. Most people who comment on the radio and other places have never read the agreement or even understand how it works. The Grand Bahama Port Authority, beginning in 1990, the GBPA, is honestly, once you have the Hawksbill Creek Agreement sitting and standing on its by itself, you begin to understand that the Grand Bahama Port Authority, it was anticipated in August of 1990, would have become a form of municipal government. That word, listen to that word very carefully. This is not local government. This is municipal government. The government of the Bahamas today is extremely afraid of municipal governance.
Explain the difference between the two for those of that are listening who don't know the difference.
Our form of local government is equivalent to my daughter, right?
Your what?
To my daughter.
Okay, explain.
Okay? I am central government. My daughter's local government.
Mm-hmm.
What she wears, I buy. What she eats, I decide. When she goes to bed, I decide. She could stay as late as she wants to, just be home by 7. She could drink whatever she wants, just as long as it's water. See, it sounds as if she has autonomy, but she does not.
Mm-hmm.
And when 20 years ago, local government had almost maybe a $2 million budget. They barely got $600,000 now. Some responsibilities of the Grand Bahama Port Authority and for government is now under local government. Local government is a glorified administrator. That's all. In fact, the administrator on every island controls local government because they are the secretary to local government, which is equivalent to the PS. Local government, extremely local with no governance at all.
Now, municipal government in comparison.
Municipal government is what you see in Miami. In Freeport, we get to make our own decisions. We get to tax, to control the tax. We get to control the police force. We maybe even get to control immigration, all of these different things in concert with a national development strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's use an example in Freeport. We generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Under the Hawksbill Creek Agreement for Freeport, 50% of that revenue would have to stay here in Freeport. So instead of local government running around with $600,000, imagine a municipal government that has the ability to build its own school, its own fire station, its own courthouses, its own whatever, that has $200 million, $300 million as his budget, $1 million a day as his budget. So you will get to see proportionately, we get to decide what it wants to do. We would get to set the policy for energy. We would get to encourage and bring investors to the island. But here's what happens though. What municipal governance does, it strips the so-called 5-year celebrities known as MPs of any type of influence. The only thing an MP would have to do is go to Parliament, create legislation, policies, and processes and procedures, and any extra time, sit in Starbucks. That's it.
Well, I think you just answered the question as to why they don't want that to be in existence.
Right. Let me give you one example. In Freeport, you have multiple subdivisions. I live in a subdivision called Bahama.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example. If I was in charge of local government in Freeport, I would create these subdivisions or districts. But let's use Bahama as an example. I would go to Bahama. I would go to Bahama and say to them, "You have autonomy in certain respect of what you want." Like, so you're a township under the municipal government of Freeport. So forget I'm in charge of Freeport. I'm in charge of Bahama. Here's what I would do. I would now go to Bahama, and I'm in charge of Bahama. I'd go to all the residents of Bahama, the thousands of residents of Bahama, and say to them, "Look, we need to build a new school. We need to build a fire station for our community, and we need to build a police station for our community, maybe even a clinic." So what we will do is we will actually make a decision to tax ourselves, not Freeport, not Grand Bahama. We will impose a tax. Let's say we decide to say we're going to sell these municipal bonds, and we say that every address in Freeport will be taxed, business address will be taxed 10,000, residence address will be taxed 7,000, payable out over 10 years. So that's $700 a year for residents. But here's what happens now. We have raised $100 million, or whatever amount we sell in municipal bonds. And we go and we build the school, first class school. People around the world want their children to go. But here's what it says. Unless you own or rent a property in Bohemia, your children can't attend the school. What do you think would happen to Bohemia? Everybody from everywhere will try to move or rent in Bohemia so that their children can go to school. So if you go and your kids go into private school, you have 3-4 kids going to private school, paying $15,000 a year. It would make sense to move into Bohemia so your kids can attend this world-class school, have no school fees, and put that towards a mortgage. So the value of Bohemia goes up, its tax base increases. Individuals that own property, let's say I go to my landlord, I say, hey, you're paying, let's say arbitrarily he's paying $3,000 a year in property taxes. I say to him, you now have to start paying $10,000 a year in property taxes. He goes, why would I pay that? Because I say, good, you're now getting $700 right now for one bedroom, $900 for a 2, $1,100 for a 3. You could now get $900 for the one bedroom. You could get $11 for the 2 bedrooms, and you get $13 for it. So now you have a 20-unit apartment. You have 20 times $200 a month more. You're getting $8,000 a month more than you're getting for rent. And why are they doing it? People are paying $200 a month extra for that location because they want their kids to go to the school. So he can now afford getting an extra $80,000, $50,000, $80,000, whatever amount you want to put there on it. So he doesn't now have a problem in paying the higher property tax because he now has a value system in place. This is what municipal government do. So we can now build a school. We can now build our own fire station for immediate response, which then can also drive down insurance because what happens is we can show that we can respond to it. We have our own digital policing, our police response. So the neighborhood drives up the property value, and that increases our tax base for municipal government. This can happen in every single other island. But here's when you go back now to the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement says no laws that applies to any Bahamian in Freeport can apply to Bahamians in Freeport unless it applies to Bahamian everywhere. So that means if you give true municipal government to Freeport, you must give municipal government to everywhere else. You would have to have a property registry in place. That means a land registry. That means when you put a land registry in Freeport, if it applied to Bahamians, it must apply to all Bahamians everywhere. So now you would have land reform, or whatever. So whatever you give Freeport under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, under this new type of municipal government, you must now give every other island. And this is one of the secrets why they keep out of Freeport. Because imagine a person like me that's aware of the power of this agreement. I'm in Freeport. Consider the whole hundreds of thousands of acres we have and thousands of properties. And I go, we're collecting hundreds of millions of dollars. I look to West End and I look to East End and I have a meeting with them and I say to West End, right, if you guys would actually have a referendum and make a decision that you want to become part of Freeport for the sake of municipal government, we'll build you your school, your hospitals, and everything else. What do you think they'll do? What if I look towards East Grand Bahama? So what happens is I now have the ability to expand my municipal government to the whole island. And so what do an MP do when we are actually electing our mayors, we are electing our city representatives and everything else the same way local government do? So what happens now, central government job is for national development, national policy, national rules, and we will then function under our own. These are why you have this conversation about Grand Bahama. And so when you talk about the economic development of the Bahamas, you cannot name a single island on this island that is more digitally prepared or infrastructurally prepared for the 21st century than Grand Bahama. In fact, you can't name a place in the Caribbean.
Okay, so but before we go there to the technological preparedness, is that a caller for the show? We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
I would like to say I'm calling from Grand Bahama, and I agree everything what C. Allen is saying. C. Allen is 100% spot on what he's saying. So thank you very much. And tell C. Allen, keep advocating for Grand Bahama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for calling. I think he heard you. You know what, C. Allen? Let's take a break. And when we come back on the other side of the break, we'll talk about the preparedness from a technology standpoint. And then we're also going to talk about some other things a little later on in the show. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is the sale or non-sale of the Grand Lucayan. We have to talk about that. We can talk about infrastructural improvements that have been forecasted for the island, and whether or not political interference is the main thing that is holding Grand Bahama back. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. This is GPS.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, fins, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Well, welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here. Listen, I want to encourage you guys to go out to Tiki Bikini Hut on Junkanoo Beach and check them out. Amazing food. Y'all heard me brag about their food on many occasions. Um, Fantastic drinks right across the street from the police station. So, only an idiot would try to go to do something stupid there. Family friendly environment, and they make everyone feel like a superstar from the moment you walk in. Go there, check them out, enjoy a good meal. Make sure you mention GPS. GPS, that you heard about them through this show, and that will guarantee you a discount on your bill. So definitely go and check them out, as well as all the other sponsors who make GPS a possibility, like Sonny and his crew over at Sunshine Auto on the corner of Soldier Road and Abundant Life Road. Listen, we can't do the show without our sponsors. I want you guys to show them some love if you love GPS so that we can stay on the air. Okay, so how do you get to be a part of the show today? Well, that's easy. Call us at 3260271, 3260271, 3260272. 3260272, or you can join us on Facebook, where we're streaming live on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. We're also streaming live on YouTube on our official channels, and you can watch us on Cable Bahamas channel 974. My guest today is C. Allen Johnson, coming to us all the way from Grand Bahama. We're talking today about Grand Bahama. Could Grand Bahama be the road through which you have to travel to get to economic prosperity of the Bahamas overall? C. Allen has been preaching that for a long time now, saying that all roads lead to Grand Bahama if you want to talk about how do we improve the economy of the Bahamas and ensure a bright future. But if you look at what's happening in Grand Bahama, you have to think, boy, you sure a road lead through there? Because Grand Bahama look like they need one road to lead to themselves for their own economic future. So this is what we're talking about today. Prior to the break, I know you wanted to go into the technological discussion. So let's go there, C. Allen. You've been saying for a long time that Grand Bahama is prime, set up, and ready to be the example for the rest of the nation and even the region technologically. Explain.
Yes. Let me just pause right there. I noticed that one of your comments on the screen, you put up that somebody says that the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement has been extended to 2054. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement has not been extended. I don't care what you have heard. There's been no extension of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is exactly the way it has been since 1955. Let me explain to people what has happened. In 1990, the tax concessions that was granted under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement expired, and they're supposed to start paying real property tax and all these other taxes that goes with the rest of the Bahamas pays. What we did is that in 2003, what we did is we passed a law that delayed the implementation of the taxes under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. That's not modifying the agreement. You're delaying what should have automatically fell away. The tax protection should have fell away. And individuals supposed to start having taxes. We're supposed to have a land registry. So this is what happened in 2003 under the FNM administration. They delayed the implementation of that part of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. That's not modifying it. That's not extending it. Here comes the PLP administration, I think 2016 or whatever it was. They further, because 203 retroactively extended it from 19. Oh, I'm getting my days confused. Sorry, in 1993, they extended it for 25 years. It began to expire again in 2015 or so. What the PLP did is extended it again. They not extended the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. They passed a law further suspending the activation or the clause in this that people are supposed to pay in taxes. So essentially, we've had two laws that have delayed the implementation of taxation in court, not extending. There's nothing but the Hawkesbury Agreement has changed. That's why I say when we have a conversation, let's not talk about extending it. I don't want to believe that the Hawks Creek Agreement can be corrected for what it is. It may serve purpose to extend it beyond 2055. But that's a conversation we have to have in context. Not these people talk about, oh, the FNM extended it. They did not extend it. They delayed the taxes that became due. The PLP delayed the taxes in the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a year that we could have had into the Treasury. So we could add $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion into the Treasury over the time. But
well, I mean, obviously, the argument would be, look at what is happening with the economy in Grand Bahama. We're trying to get Grand Bahama back on its feet. So this is probably not the best time to ask them to start paying all these taxes.
That's not the problem. The problem is when you went in 1990, you cannot begin to collect those taxes unless you go to municipal governance. See, the local government law that the FNM pride themselves on saying they created, that was a smoke and mirror to allow the tax delay to happen. And so all they did was took the administrative position and the island administrator and wrap it up and call it local government and get some people get elected. But in essence, that was for free. If you look at that, you'll see that the Local Government Act that was passed is directly related to some things that they did under the Hawks Creek Agreement. The Port Authority said they built this and did some schools, whatever. So they dressed up this whole compendium of things to make it seem as if though the Grand Bahama Port Authority was meeting its requirements to justify extending these tax breaks.
Okay.
It's smoke and mirrors. But it was more so not the tax breaks, it was the fear of municipal government that the government was afraid of. Then they was afraid of it then, and they're afraid of it now. Because you can have municipal government in Grand Bahama and give the tax concessions to provide, in Freeport, I say Grand Bahama and Freeport, to provide the economic stimulus. But it's the municipal government aspect of it that they're afraid of. And so when you look infrastructurally, what they did was the governments then and now wanted to maintain the status quo. And they did a good job of doing a slow job of it. Except what we failed to recognize that in 1980 began the new digital revolution with the advent of IBM and others entered into the market and began to produce these desktop computers. In 1983, we had the birth of the internet. A lot of people don't confuse the internet goes all the way back to the 50s or 60s, but the internet was not readily available to anybody. TCP came about in 1983, January of 1983, that allows you to log on any computer anywhere in the world, and that's when the true birth. So January of 1983 is considered the birth of the internet. All of this is happening right while this is happening. So then you move into 1992 when we had what is called the World Wide Web. A lot of people believe that the World Wide Web and the internet are one and the same. Technically, in a sense, they are. The World Wide Web is like, say, you remember all the houses in New Providence? No, none of the houses had numbers on the house. Or remember the numbers? What the World Wide Web became was a protocol that envelope to envelope. So instead of going to, say, Linksys, before 1990, if you wanted to go to Linksys, you couldn't type in the word Linksys. You couldn't type in the word Microsoft.
No, you have to type in www.
No, you didn't. No, you only type in digits, 192.168.1.2. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
The World Wide Web, the www, is what made it possible. So now you could just type in Microsoft.
I see. Okay.
And it translate in a fraction, a millionth of a second, it translated into the digital address that you have. So that's when it began another revolution. All of these things was happening. If we go back to BTC and the infrastructure, Enron and all these other different digital infrastructure, all of the traffic for the Caribbean passed through the Bahamas or through Bahamian waters. You and I have to have a show concerning the role the infrastructure has played into what is called the surveillance economy. That's the name of our next show, the surveillance economy. So, but what happens is technologically, Grand Bahama was so digitally prepared. If you go and you look, The Guardian, I think in December of 2020, they rated the Bahamas as the second most digitally prepared country in the world. I still maintain that we're still number one because we have geolocations of other things that they don't factor in. But what do you mean by digital preparedness? It means that infrastructurally, we are the most prepared country out of 202 countries in the world. preparedness, I want people to don't confuse preparedness with utilization. Now, I want you to pause. The Bahamas is the most digitally prepared country in the world. But let's now look at Freeport or look at Grand Bahama. If we treated Grand Bahama as a country, as the 203rd country, the Bahamas would be number one and Grand Bahama would be number two. That's how prepared we are.
I wanna put a comment on the into the stream from one of our Facebook viewers. Sandy Fanaco says you cannot tax the sovereign Bahamian corporations, yes, but not sovereign Bahamian nationals. The government knows this. The people do not. They are acting like citizens, so they are treating them like who they are operating as. How do you respond to that?
I don't know what you mean. Government can tax anybody and anybody. That's one thing, the power of government. Government can put tax at 100%, if they want, and you can't do nothing about it. That's the power of government. And so you may say what they should not do. And in fact, if people want to take a calculation, and I know we always talk about taxation, and taxation is good for lack of a better word. The problem is not taxes. The problem is what you get for your taxes. When I was in the U.S., at some occasions, because of the money I was making, I paid as much as 38% tax, but I never complained because of what I got for the 38%.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I get value for money, then you won't have a problem. The problem we have is taxation, is that we're not getting value for money. But let me just insert this for all of you people who are listening. We don't have a money problem, right? We're supposed to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we don't. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's a very simple formula. Let's just talk about the 2 million acres that belongs to the Bahamian people that's inside the BNT alone. I don't even going to talk about the other million acres. I want you to take a value of it. I want you to begin to look at the value of the hundreds of thousands of acres that the Crown still has on Grand Bahama. I want you to take 50,000 acres, okay? 50,000 from the 2 million acres that we guarantee we have, and we know where they are. Now, I want you to take a look at the Paradise Island RCI deal. They're going to spend $100 million, $200 million on 12 acres, 15 acres. That puts about $700,000 per acre that they're going to spend on that. You're not going to spend $700,000 on an acre of land unless you're going to make that money back. Okay? Mm-hmm. So now I want you to go back to the 50,000 acres that we say we have in the Bahamas. I want you to take those 50,000 acres and put those in a sovereign fund, a real sovereign fund with a sovereign asset management. And I want you to put a developmental value of those land at $300,000. That the income that could come for those land over 5 years, 7 years, it would be $300,000 just one time, $300,000. Now I want you to multiply 50,000 acres by $300,000, and guess what you end up with? $15 billion. I just explained to you how we could get rid of the national debt and solve our problems in infrastructure. The problem is that just like the Grand Bahama and Freeport and the Hawke's Bay Creek Agreement, these are open secrets that we don't have discussion of. We're screaming about taxation and national debt. I just told you, in the same way RCI could take 12 acres and make hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, I want you to put 50,000 acres into a sovereign fund, put a value of $300,000 on it. So you can make $50,000 an acre per year from a business or some profit from it, and you would have $15 billion. Now, what if you put 100,000 acres? You would have $30 billion. So at least, now I just said we have millions of acres of Crown land, millions. I say just 50,000. I just say 100,000. So don't let anybody don't let anyone tell you that we're lacking in the Bahamas. We're lacking leadership. Again, let me say this again. Take 50,000 of the 3 million acres we have, put it in a sovereign wealth fund, assign an investment value, a development value of $300,000 that we will get people to contribute for our development, and you could put an income, so we could generate an income of $300,000 over 6 years. Times that by the 50,000, and you now have $15 billion in a sovereign wealth fund. Now we could double and triple this. There is no lack in what we need to develop this country. We have a lack of leadership. I hear many political parties, 3 that I know about. I think the DNA has died. Nobody's found the body yet. Is that we just have to have conversation in the 21st century context. And this is why in Grand Bahama, we're talking about getting rid of the Hawke's Bay Creek Agreement, and rather than talking about the problem. The problem is the leadership in the Grand Bahama Port Authority. And the leadership in the Grand Bahama Port Authority only exists due to the owners allowing the level of inefficiency, incompetence, or ineptitude by virtue. I judge you by what you do, not what you intend to do in that position. And so the problem then becomes whatever is happening from the ownership perspective and a lack of vision, a lack of direction from them, has caused the stagnation to happen on Grand Bahama. So what you have is government afraid that they will be stripped of their power and lack of leadership in the Grand Bahama Port Authority by virtue of the leadership of the corporation and all the way to the board.
I'm not sure why, but your audio just went quite low. I don't know if it's on your end or my end.
Let's give me a second. Yeah,
but all of a sudden you were fine, and then all of a sudden we lost some volume there. Okay. In the meantime, while we figure this out, I want to read another comment from our Facebook viewer, Sandy. Sandy says, 98% of Bahamians are minors because they're not knowing what the government is doing to them. They don't act in their best interest. What are your thoughts?
I do believe, because what happens is that what we have is a level of ignorance, and what happens is they have not been taught about what the Bahamas is or what is possible in the Bahamas. What you have is pseudo intellectualism that governs our country, arrogance of ignorance that does it, and so it is basically what we do is we select 5-year celebrities. We don't select leaders, and we select slaves to run the country. And the Bible talks to you about that. What I mean by that, you have a neo-colonial mindset in our leadership. They came from the period when they were governed by the Queen. In fact, these individuals actually believe in the doctrine of discovery. This is why our investors keep coming here. You have the doctrine of discovery. During the Columbus time and when the Pope used to do these edicts, they believed that any country they discover that didn't believe what they believe, or they was uncivilized and they had a right to govern and kill and maim and do whatever. They said, they said, I don't care if you live here. We discovered you. And so if you don't believe what we believe, we have a right to conquer you. And so what you have is leadership that actually still believes this, that they've been born, grew up and indoctrinated pre-1973. So they don't know anything but the system for which slavery is indoctrinated. They only can duplicate what they know. And so we have continuously elect as leaders. I don't care these new people who come along. They are party aficionados. Okay? They have no ideas. This is why when you have laws and legislation going on right now, we're having laws, immigration laws, citizenship laws, all these things going. Have you heard these MPs come back to the Bahamian people and have a discussion with their people? But they're gonna come back in 5 years and tell you to vote for them. But they don't believe that you have the intellectual capacity to even have a conversation with them about what you want for your life. That's why MPs don't hold meetings to talk to you about what is happening in the House of Assembly. This is why the House of Assembly don't put what they broadcast it. If you miss it, you don't get to see it again. Of all the free things, Facebook, YouTube, all these things that they could put the House of Assembly on, they don't, because they don't want you to see what decisions they're making in your behalf. And Bahamians are complicit because we, through virtue of our inaction, has given consent to them to do as they feel. But the Bible tells you, woe to the nation when a slave becomes king. Because he only knows slavery. He only knows the system of slavery. But the world has opened the door to us. We still believe that banks control the Bahamas. We can't get loans. The dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I've heard financial people say this: well, the banks in the Bahamas only give loans for vehicles. Having served on a bank right on the board, up to the board level, we only give we were a multi-million-dollar bank. We only give loans for vehicles. The problem is they never taught Bahamians what vehicles are. An automobile is a vehicle for transportation. A house is a vehicle for home ownership, and a business is a vehicle for wealth. So yes, we only give it for vehicles, but the problem is they told you that an automobile is the only vehicle there is. No, it isn't. Here's why we only give visa for vehicle. If you don't pay me for that vehicle, I have to have the ability to take you out and put somebody else in it. So when you don't pay me for that automobile, I take you out and put somebody else in. When you don't pay me for that house, I take you out and put somebody else in. The problem is we have never taught people on how to build businesses as vehicles. so that you can go to the bank and they'll finance you just like they do for the automobile, because they will see your business as a vehicle that if you fail, they can take you out and put somebody else in. But they haven't taught you these financial problems. And so what they've been doing is governance through virtue of ignorance. And they've been dumbing down the education system. They don't teach 21st century environment. The world is now talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, Internet of Things, big data. I want Bemis to understand, and this is where the problem with Grand Bahama is too. Do you know that the Department of Technology in the Bahamas was started in 1968? That's when we began to digitize government. Since 1968, it's been 55 years now, and you can't get paperless document. Hundreds of millions of dollars has been spent. A lot of people don't understand. 1968 is when we started to try to make technology primary in government. So if you can't get technology right in government, how do you get technology right for a country? And so here it is, millions of dollars. Every single day you hear, oh, customs, immigration. Customs say we have an app. Really? Seriously? How long have we been using app? Facebook is an app now for 15 years. And so it's like, and they have no, what they say, imagine if they say to you, if the app goes down, we'll go back to paper. What?
See, Alan, man, you watching too much go on, man.
You go back to paper?
You stealing these people thunder, man. They so proud of their accomplishment, and you coming around here with this talk, like making them feel small.
Imagine that Facebook, you're using your app on your phone, and your app goes down on your phone, and Facebook say to you, I'm sorry, but you'll have to start mailing letters again. What?
Yeah, stick a pin in that. We have to take a break. Wow. We're talking about Grand Bahama today, and whether or not the future of our nation's economy runs through Grand Bahama. And if we were to embrace that, what would things look like? We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after
Your body's
this.
immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We are streaming live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for text messages or calls is 801-0271. You can also catch us on Cable Bahamas, channel 974. My guest today is critical thinker C. Alan Johnson, all the way from Grand Bahama, and we are talking about Grand Bahama today, and whether or not Grand Bahama is the road through which we must travel to get to economic prosperity in the Bahamas. This is what we're talking about today. It's a topic that we've been wanting to cover for quite some time, but things kept happening and throwing us off. But here we are now today. So I want to talk, C. Allen, about the elephant in the room, the sale or lack thereof of the Grand Lucayan Hotel. We all remember when the Free National Movement was, there was this huge announcement and all this, celebration about a hotel being sold and all this good stuff that was to come, and everybody had so much hope. Well, actually, not so much the hotel being sold, but them actually having to buy the hotel. And everybody had so much hope. They said they were buying it with the idea of selling it to someone else. And we can, break that whole thing down about how we got to that point. But here we are now in 2023, still with this elephant lingering over our heads.
The proper definition is fantasy.
Well, I just got knocked off. Hopefully I can get back on quickly. You call it fantasy. Other people, I don't know what they're calling it, but the bottom line is we haven't seen any kind of real progress as it relates to that. We're at the point now where our Minister of Tourism is saying that, we have some real interest at the table.
Michelle, just
I'm not going to make any announcements until.
Michelle, this isn't rocket science in buying a property, okay? A person looks at the property, makes an assessment, makes an offer, you do it. It doesn't take months and months and months and months and months. With all due respect, this is a stall tactic. This is what they call hope. The number one dope in the Bahamas is hope. Church sell it, the politicians do too. But let's look at it. First of all, let me just put in perspective. I remember the previous administration and the current administration, both of them, they fly into Grand Bahama, land at an airport, Michelle, and then they say to the people, we need an airport for Grand Bahama. And I'm going like this. Didn't you just land at an airport? What do you mean we need an airport for Grand Bahama? See, the planes are landing, everything is going. See, you can talk with the facade of the airport. You don't need an airport for Grand Bahama. We had one. You would land at an airport. People are coming and going every day. What happened? So what's airport? Are you talking about another airport? I know you're not talking about the Grand Bahama airport because it becomes an oxymoron. How could you land at an airport and say you need one? Okay, dress it up. The problem Now we go to the Alokaya. We need to sell the hotel. That hotel was built in 1964 and 1965. Two parts of the hotel. The other one was built in 1997, opened in 1997. Those hotels are the end of life. The other two hotels are past the end of life. You could dress her up all you want. She's still an old woman. She doesn't have the vitality and whatever of the young girl that's competing with them. And that is
You
why
just you out of order. You out of order, pod.
I'm saying what it is. Look, the Royal Oasis, that's the Royal Oasis 2.0. That hotel has some use, not as in the concept that they have. You have to come into the 21st century. This is where these people are mind locked into hotels. The world is shifting to bed and breakfast and personalized and boutique hotels and all those different things. Grand Bahama needs a minimum of 10,000 rooms. This is a study by professionals. 10,000 rooms become a viable destination for hospitality and tourism. Those are two words, two separate. Hospitality and tourism are two different things. We use them interchangeably. Now, when you start talking about tourism, let's talk about some different versions of tourism. Sports tourism, medical tourism, wellness tourism, educational tourism, technology, all of these different things. But what you have is the 10,000 rooms allows you to be net zero. Meaning, what does net zero mean? You can pay for the rooms. People can run businesses, restaurants, tours, and everything. Pay themselves a very reasonable salary, but they don't make no significant profit. Meaning, you could run forever at net zero. Okay, everybody's happy, but you slowly progress. But when everything you add, so imagine you have a business that now you're at net zero, you got the 10,000 rooms, everybody's making 100% of their cost plus a good profit, a good salary. Every time you begin to add additional rooms, getting towards the 20,000, you are now transforming the environment. So we need 10,000 rooms to start. The problem is that the 10,000 rooms is no one is talking about fintech, regulatory tech, and supervisory tech, trade fi, and these property tech, that where behemoths can now get into this business, and it doesn't cost them anything except some small upfront fee, less than a down payment of 5%, less than that, for them to actually 100% finance their bed and breakfasts that would pay for itself. You could get a duplex that you could have a potential of generating $104,000 a year. 66% occupancy will give you $68,000 a year. Let me ask you a question: if you got a duplex for $500,000, right? Do you think $104,000 a year, or if you say $70,000 a year at 65% occupancy, is enough to pay the mortgage on a $400,000 loan? But see, we're not having these conversations, because what happens is that when you have a person that can own a bed and breakfast, pay for the bed and breakfast for the $400,000, which if you pay the interest only alone on that, it'll be $2,000 a year. So $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. So your whole year is $36,000, but you're making $70,000. And so what happens if a person doubles that? And so you need 10,000 rooms. The problem is fixing Grand Bahama will cost a rush of individuals who are suffering economically to leave New Providence. Now, let me go back to this municipal government story, why you have a problem. If you fix Grand Bahama, which can be fixed in the shortest period of time, through leadership, because I can lay out a plan that'll cost that hotel, people will be fighting to buy that hotel. But the people are not going to buy that hotel, because nobody flies to the Bahamas and says, "Oh, let's fly to Grand Bahama so we could stay at a Alokaya, 50-year-old hotel, and maybe we can lay out on the beach." Nobody comes to the Bahamas to go to no hotel rooms. They don't. They come for a infrastructure, an ecosystem. If you was to build that airport tomorrow, spend $100,000 and upgrade the airport, and sell the hotel for $300 million, what will they be coming to Grand Bahama for? To experience a new airport and go stay in a hotel room and watch cable TV or something? So you have to build an ecosystem, a hospitality and tourism ecosystem, the environment that costs people. Because I could go get financing, 100% financing for some people right now for some bed and breakfasts, but they need people to stay in it to pay the mortgage. But what I have the people fly in for? They say, "Hey, we need to pay a mortgage to stay in my house." They're coming for, so we have nothing for them to come for. That's what the Grand Bahama Port Authority has failed. for Freeport, and the governments of the Bahamas have failed to lay out what is the ecosystem, what is the environment for us to come to.
In other words, what is the product? What is the attraction?
There you go. But let's go back to that hotel. We have spent $200 million as of January on that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to take $200 million and divide it by 100,000. And you guess what you come up with? I think 2,000 rooms. So we have spent more money maintaining this broke down woman than we could have got 2,000 new girls for. So
I don't like your analogy, but I get the point.
Okay, I'm saying. All man. Okay, y'all women. Would you spend $200 million on an old man? Or
let's turn that around.
2,000. But I'm saying to you, we've spent the equivalent of used to give every single person a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. Give every single person on Grand Bahama or whatever. You say to them, look, here's $100,000. I want you to build me a 1-bedroom, 1 bath bed and breakfast. What did they spend on that hotel? Would have built 2,000 of them. Those hotel rooms, one of the hotels for 500 rooms has to be torn down. It has asbestos. It has cast iron pipes. The roof is leaking.
Mold.
It's a mold, mildew, everything. Okay, so we're trying to get that supposed to be for a hotel. Then they got to renovate it. It's called fantasy.
Yeah.
So
I want to play a clip. This one is from James Carey, who is the president of the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce. And this is a news clip that aired several weeks ago. He is of the opinion that political interference has been one of the biggest setbacks as it relates to the sale of that hotel. Here's what he had to say in this clip.
3 months after the deal to sell the Grand Lucayan Resort to Electra America Hospitality fell through, Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce President James Carey says the process of selling the resort could have been smoother had there been no political influence.
The government's concern was that, a number, a lot of people will be put out of jobs. And that is bad for government and, in the social services sector, people making salaries, they pay taxes, et cetera, So, would it have actually been sold? I can't say, but I believe private transactions tend to go a little better because they don't have the influence of politics on them generally.
Now, back in August last year, the former lead negotiator of the committee to sell the hotel, Michael Scott, suggested that negotiations were dragging on because the buyer required substantial commitments from the government on the development and reconstruction of the Grand Bahama International Airport. But Carey adds that while an effort to get more airlift to Grand Bahama can help, there's still a shortage of hotel rooms, which poses a problem to the business community.
That has not been directly confirmed. But the fact that the hotel has not been sold is impacting the economy in Grand Bahama, particularly in Freeport, because it's operating partially. The entire hotel isn't open, and from all previous reports, it's in need of repair.
Back in May last year, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper announced the hotel's sale for $100 million with a 60-day closing. After several extensions on that timeline, spanning to November 15th, Electra America ultimately advised that shifting global capital markets and related inflationary pressures resulted in higher construction costs and costlier access to credit, adding that the company had difficulty securing development financing at terms that would allow it to fully execute the vision outlined in its business plan. And given this, the closing deadline of November 15th, 2022 wasn't possible, and negotiations came to an end. Minister Cooper, however, did tell reporters days later that the government is confident it can secure a deal for the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort.
There are credible interests from potential buyers for the resort. We have begun those conversations.
Let me just say, Michelle, political interference has not prevented the sale of the hotel. Common sense has. When somebody walks that hotel property, looks at the age, look at what has to be done, and people say, this is what people say, oh, the government don't want the people to be fired. The same money we spending $1.5 million a month or whatever, we could send those people home and give them social services and actually pay them minimum wage to stay at home while the people rebuild that hotel. There's no big impact. See, that's what I'm saying to you. No thought has been put into any discussion of what is happening. What you have is ineptitude, incompetence, and ability in defining what is it that people are buying into. Again, you have $100 million, $200 million spent on a hotel. On an airport. What are you going to do? First of all, most people don't understand how airports work. Airports are shopping malls. In a small hub, 50% of the revenue derived from the airport comes from the people coming into the airport, those shops and other different things. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In a larger hub, 70% of the revenue coming into a larger hub comes from the travelers. So I know this is because in the initial bidding of the hotel, I was representing a group of people that's interested in the airport and creating a land bridge between Abaco, the U.S., and the Caribbean, and Grand Bahama. And they were running on with $30 million to build an airport. It's our proposal, our conversation that moved the value of doing the airport into the range of $100 to $150 million that has been adopted. So I know where the figure came from. I'm the one that introduced the $100 million figure and the reasons behind why it has to be such a figure. Okay? So and it's on my social media pages. It's not me claiming anything because I don't go on what I think, what I feel. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So I'm simply saying is, where is this volume of people that's going to go through this airport, even for the promise that has been made right now to build an airport for $100 million? I would love to see the strategy. It should be a strategy that's made public to us because if I have an interest in that hotel or even bed and breakfast in Grand Bahama, I need to know the viability of that airport actually happening before I even begin to have a conversation or even begin to say I'm going to go invest to build a wellness center or whatever I'm going to build here, or an education center or a tech hub. To know synergy, you have to have number one, number two, number three. That's to work in synergy with the other. They can't work in silos. I can't tell you, and you can't tell me. I can't tell you what I'm doing, and the airport can't tell me that. So, if you look at the total amount of rooms on Grand Bahama, you say 1,500 people. If that airport is not viable with 1,500 rooms or 50, if every single day they come in today, leave tomorrow morning, the figures for that airport cannot survive. I hear talks about a transshipment part. So essentially, what you have is a conversation that we can have an airport for $100 million, but nobody's explaining to us to break down. Is that $100 million over 100 years? I don't know.
I think we have a caller on the line. Yeah, caller, welcome to GPS.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. I'm calling from Grand Bahama.
Mm-hmm.
And I just missed the Alan the last time he spoke about something in banking. But I just want to talk about my personal experience that I just had at the bank in Grand Bahama. The bank told me that the Grand Bahama Port Authority needs to be cleared of a bill that I owe to them for $900 when I own 3 companies with probably $6 million and with $200,000 in the bank, on my bank account, and they told me that I can't get a letter for my granddaughter to get her visa to go to the States because I have to now clear up the $900 that I owe the Grand Bahama Port Authority. How does that what does that have to do with anything in banking? Please, C. Allen, could you please explain what you think is going on there?
What you do is give me a call after 825-9700. We could resolve that issue. And this is where the problem is. The government of Bahamas is in a state of desperation for funding. The Port Authority is looking for funding from anywhere. I think if you go there, you'll see them looking under rocks. And so essentially what they've done is they've become a cartel. And they've said to people, we're not going to issue a license unless you get clearance from the Port Authority. And so they're now squeezing, going out of the scope of the law. See, because what you have to do is you have to ask them in law. I know what they say to you. You have to ask them in writing, to put in writing what they're requesting from you. And in the same capacity, I don't want to pull the show away from that, right? But just give me a call. We can resolve the issue. But here's the problem you have, Michelle, is that what you have is a conversation that's yet to happen. First of all, let me just tell people before we run out. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is a trust. It is a trust. I want people to understand. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is also laws on the books of the Bahamas. We call it the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. These are actual laws that you must follow. The same way you can't rob or rape or do whatever, these are laws that have to be followed. And so even though you have certain rules to going on, always ask for it in writing. And that person can give me a call, 825-97.
To that person's point, C. Allen, do they have the ability to reach into banking business?
They should not. They see what I'm saying to you. They're exercising authority out of the scope of the law.
Okay.
If I owe the Port Authority, the Port Authority has the court system to which to resolve the issue. I'm not seeking a license with the Port Authority. And in fact, for me, if I owe the Port Authority, they have to show justification for where I pay them, not the license in Freeport, to pay them for them to provide a service for me in an environment. And
We have to talk about the role of the Port Authority in the development of Grand Bahama and whether or not they are in any way holding the island hostage. But we have to take a break.
Okay, and I want to come back. I want you people to get some pen and paper. When I come back, I can explain to you that you don't need a license to operate in Freeport. Come back.
Okay, let's take this break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation about Grand Bahama and its role in the future of the economy of the Bahamas. Stay with us.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. If you haven't already done so, like and share the show. Let everybody know on Facebook that we are on the air. We are streaming live on Facebook on Global 99.5 and Michelle Malcolm's official pages, also on YouTube. And you can call into the show 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, or WhatsApp. Either call or text at 8010271, 8010271, and you can also check us out on Cable Bahamas channel 974. We are talking today about Grand Bahama and whether or not the road to economic prosperity for the Bahamas leads through Grand Bahama. My guest is C. Alan Johnson, and we've been talking about all aspects of the challenges that Grand Bahama faces and what needs to be done to make things better, make life better on the island, whether it be tourism, whether it be technology,
Everything for Grand Bahama.
the economy. Go ahead, C. Alan. I know you've been
Let me
to
tell
say
you
something.
something. Without Grand Bahama, the only business could happen in the Bahamas is prostitution.
Is what?
Prostitution. Our assets. They've been selling our Archipelago Sand and Sea. They've been selling our ASS all along. Archipelago Sand and Sea. This is why they're giving away our crown land, giving away everything so you could have jobs. We could just over broke suckers in a just over environment. I challenge any economist to show a development of the Bahamas with Grand Bahama playing a central role in the 21st century. It cannot happen. When you start talking about the orange economy, the blue economy, the ocean economy, the digital economy, the data economy, the aquamarine economy, everything, it all comes back to Grand Bahama. Name me another place could happen. Nassau is locked up and bounded. But somebody sent me a note and asked me to finish explaining to me concerning the municipal government. Just let me touch this one thing. If you fix Grand Bahama in an economic picture, that you can buy a quarter acre of land. You can buy an acre of land here for under $20,000. Quarter acre in Freeport with all infrastructure already in place, water, internet, everything in place. And you have Grand Bahama that's going to need about 30 to 40,000 individuals to move from New Providence to finance this new, even tourism industry. What happens now is that you have 40,000 individuals, 50,000 individuals are leaving New Providence. Everybody said, oh, that's wonderful. Michelle, pay attention. Those 40,000 people do something every 5 years. What do they do, Michelle?
Vote.
So what? They are no longer in New Providence. So now you have 5, 6 new seats on Grand Bahama. New Providence no longer have control of governance by virtue of the number of seats. So you have now the oligarchs and the plutocrats, the political class that doesn't want you to leave New Providence. They control the harbors, they control the airport, they control the land.
Mm-hmm.
In New Providence, you cannot find a quarter acre on the waterfront. You can find it for 50 grand on average. On the canal, deep water canal, out straight out to the sea. You can't find it in New Providence. They want you to stay in this can, So, and what they do is they treat you like F&M and PLP, and this is what they do. Michelle, this has been proven. Do you know if you take 100 red ants and 100 black ants and put them in a clear jar and rest it on the table, they do nothing? But if you take the jar and you shake the jar, they begin to attack each other. But everybody say, look at those two ants killing each other. Nobody mentioned the fact that the guy who shook the jar is the one who started the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, if you fix Grand Bahama, people begin to move here. Remember now, the government of the Bahamas have as much land as Freeport does. In fact, you have maybe twice as much land outside of Freeport in the Crown control than you have in Freeport. And so you can build new cities here. You can do whatever, but now what you have done is stripped it. This is where the concern for me comes in the ownership of the airport right here. And the fact that RCI and others are talking about it. I'm betting that the Chinese is not going to play coy and let somebody take the harbor from them, because that begins a key place. But Bahamians have to understand the value of breaking the backs of the oligarchs and the plutocrats lies not in New Providence, not in voting, but in actually the decentralization of our economy. And it's possible now, because you don't hear people don't expect the people in the bank to tell you on how you don't need the bank. Don't expect it. So these economists and people who run these banks, and they say the economy do whatever, and the central bank, they will never tell you that you no longer need them. So we have to have a conversation on how you could have access to global capital without violating any laws in the Bahamas. Remember, you don't need permission to do something. You need a law that prohibits it.
I want to read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers, and I want you to respond to this. Sandy says the whole banking system is changing globally. The Bahamas government knows this. Loans are fraudulent. Why? They know why. I said earlier that we are the creditors. So what does that mean? You're looking at the wrong things. How do you respond?
Fintech, the economics of the world has been disrupted. The power now belongs to the people, just that the people may not be aware of it. And so education. And so the problem is that there's always some amongst us willing to sell the rest of us. And so what you have to do is this. You want to know who the government is afraid of? Look at who they silence or ostracize. Don't look at the people on the TV. Look at the people they won't do. I could go to ZNS, Our News, NBC, Eyewitness News, right? And tell them that I'm about to commit a crime. They won't interview me. Go and commit the crime, and they will not interview me to ask me why. They will not put me on the air because I'm trying to free the slaves. So what happens is that, and I'm saying to you, go to these bankers and say, see, Alan talk about these things and that I don't need to use the bank. And people say, that's impossible. But every single day they're watching young people around the world raise billions of dollars in capital just using ideas. They're running around with artificial intelligence and everything and don't understand. They've been conditioned to be consumers. And so when we start talking about Grand Bahama, we talk about the resources of money. The Grand Bahama Port Authority, we have to fight with the Grand Bahama Port Authority. We have to have a conversation. The three people in the Grand Bahama Port Authority is the government as trustee for the Bahamian people, the government, which owns 7.5% of the Port Authority. They have yet to tell us yet. Remember, when they say they're fighting for the ownership of the Port Authority, they're fighting for the 92.5%. The Bahamas, the government owns 7.5% already. We don't hear it. We don't know where the money for that goes. So what happens though is that they've taken the conversation away. The licensees, the government of the Bahamas, and the Port Authority are the three people of this trust that holds ownership in this trust for the discussion. Landowners, the licensees are the business owners. Landowners are also quasi licensees in Freeport. But we're not having a public conversation. You'll have the Port Authority come and have a public conversation where the president will prance up on the stage and say, oh, if you get some glass canoes, some plastic canoes, you could have tours, whatever. Not develop it. So the problem is the owners of the Grand Bahama Port Authority needs leadership. They're lacking leadership. They're lacking vision. For whatever virtue, we could have a whole show on that alone with them.
In the meantime, though, are they holding the island hostage?
No. The government has full authority. Remember, in spite of the Hawkesbury, I hear people say, oh, there's penalties, whatever. There's no penalties for repealing the law. The question we have to have a conversation is, do we want government to repeal this law? This is not some agreement. This is law. See, so what happens is the very act the government could do to have control of the Port Authority is repeal the law that delayed the taxes, and the Port Authority, in their economic condition, cannot pay the taxes. In fact, when I appeared in the front of the board with Greg Moss and I, they one of the people on the board who was doing the review for it said, if we tax them, where are they going to get money from? I said, we can take the land as payment. Every time they're missing a payment, we say take some land. But I'm simply saying, do we want government to understand that government is already involved with this as a trustee? So we can have a conversation and direct it. So the failure of the government is the most powerful because they have the power of the people. They have the power of governance. And the licensees are now 80% Bahamian. So technically, government already have 2 of the 3 votes at the table. So the Port Authority is not the problem. The ownership of the Port Authority, the problem is that our government has failed to have a real conversation with the owners of the Port Authority. I say that the 5-year celebrities may lack what is necessary to the table. This is what you hire people for, not the family, friends, and lovers, the same people who we've been going to for the last 30 years. Ain't nothing going to change with them. But we have to have a conversation in the public domain. The Port Authority did a reef report, beautiful report. The synopsis that provided by the last administration, the economic recovery report, beautiful report. The McKinsey report, nice report. The high school report, no, what's the high school? Oh yeah, the digitalization report. It was a high school report. I would have failed it. But that report, there's value in all of these reports. The problem is, again, fixing Grand Bahama empowers thousands, maybe tens of thousands of Bahamian families to no longer need the oligarchs, which brings us to the point. We talk in Grand Bahama all the time. Oh, you need a license. That person called a license to operate in Grand Bahama. You do not. To a license under the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is only required when you want to partake of the benefits of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. They've been telling you need a license in Freeport. When Dr. Dabo was the minister for Grand Bahama, I questioned this. Then the Port Authority told me, oh, you can't be, you can have a license, a Bahamian license to operate in Freeport, but you can't take it. I said, I don't want any tax concessions. I'm in the digital world. I don't need any tax concessions from you. So they said, well, you can't be in a building that was built duty-free. I said, let me ask you a question. If I was to build a building duty-free and I get a certificate of occupancy, can I still continue adding a building duty-free? No, because you're no longer duty-free. Okay, so guess what? That means that building is no longer bonded. Then I could be in the building. See, they use these semantics for you. But when you go to a meeting, this is what they do. They have this meeting. The Port Authority talks for 2 hours, and they say, okay, see, Alan Johnson, one question.
And no follow-up.
Right? And so what I'm simply saying, a conversation is communication getting through. And so what we lack on Grand Bahama also is leadership. The business people of Grand Bahama has 1/3 of the vote to sit at the table. They sit and complain about it sitting on this nail, but nobody in the business community wants to get up and simply say, you know what? Let's have this conversation. Even if I don't know, you don't know, somebody in the world must know what could be done with this jewel. And so it takes the Grand Bahama licensees in Freeport and the landowners, the quasi licensees, to make a demand for a conversation in the public domain as to what's now, what's new, and what's next for Grand Bahama. And because 1/3 of the Grand Bahama of this Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is in trust for all Bahamians, not some. Separately, the licensees have 1/3 say. The government as a trustee is for all Bahamians in the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. Don't let them tell you you live in the Mayaguana, in Agua, you don't have nothing to do with this. You do. You are 1/3 at the table. And so you have the licensees and the owners of the Port Authority. So, but we're not having these conversations in context. And we have people saying, listen to me, when somebody says to you, get rid of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, and they can't tell you what it is and the benefits and what are the thing. If you take a digital mindset, in the same way I've been saying about the digital laws in the Bahamas and our constitution providing data sovereignty, privacy, and protection from a constitutional standpoint. If you look at the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement with the mindset of the 21st century, you'll be blown away at the possibilities. We could make literally thousands of millionaires on Grand Bahama in the shortest period of time, all Bahamians. And
Okay, I have to take a break, see, Alan. I have to take a break. So let me take this break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this conversation because we have to talk about the product. We have to talk about the product. And we're going to do that on the other side. Stay with us.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Youngevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, pinch, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
So to begin this last segment of the show, I want to play a clip. This is an interview with former Prime Minister Hubert Minnis talking about, and I'm paraphrasing here, and his belief that the present administration missed the ball when it comes to the RCI agreement that was made for their Paradise Island attraction that they are that they just recently signed off on. He believes that the present administration missed the ball when they didn't include a Grand Bahama component, as was the case when his administration, Minnis, was sitting in the seat and negotiating. Here's what he had to say on that.
The government's deviating from the original deal with Royal Caribbean International. This much coming from former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis.
The original plan was that we would sign the contract the same time that they signed the contract for Grand Bahama, because Grand Bahama would have likewise been involved.
As far as the Grand Bahama component of the deal goes, Dr. Minnis says that it was intended to be signed together with the Paradise Island project. That deal, he says, includes the hotel they were purchasing and the building of a new cruise terminal.
So that the volume of tourists that would have been brought to Grand Bahama would have increased dramatically. That would have provided jobs for the taxi and tour operators, transporting them from this cruise terminal to the hotel and to Port Lucaya. That would have created great opportunities for Grand Bahamians wanted to include the entire Bahamas, individuals from Grand Bahama, as well as New Providence. Grand Bahama, which has been suffering for a long time, has to be involved. That component has to be involved so that the port, Lucaya area can benefit, individuals see more tourists, more spending, etc. The taxis in Grand Bahama will benefit because they know that they would now be moving passengers from this new cruise port, which would be adjacent to the existing port. They would be moving those passengers from that port to the Lucaya, so the taxis would benefit, the port, the tour operators would benefit.
Let me just say.
Oh, okay, before you jump in, C. Allen, let me just say this. And this goes back to the point that you were trying to make earlier in the show. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to be a judge for the Miss Teen USA pageant when it used to be held here in the Bahamas. And I remember doing the judges briefing. The president of the Miss Universe organization, Paula Shugart, came into the room. And, you know, it's customary that they would give a briefing to the judges to say, you know, this is what you look for, this is what you don't look for. And I remember her saying, I want you to remember, if you don't remember anything else, the product is beauty. The product is beauty. The product is beauty. She repeated this several times. And then she looked us each in the eye individually and she said, the product is beauty. Because sometimes people get caught up in looking at things that really have nothing to do or have less to do with what is required to be a successful beauty queen. So she wanted to remind us, don't get caught up in other things. The product is beauty. Now,
Michelle,
if we listen to what Menace just said, and he talked about, you know, under our deal, we would have had more people coming into Grand Bahama, and this would have created more jobs and given more work to the taxi drivers, etc.
Garbage.
Did it address the question of what is the product? Because you could bring all these people to Grand Bahama, but if the international bazaars still break down, like
Michelle,
you stay in a hotel room, what do you think?
Michelle, you're absolutely correct. Here's what I want you to imagine, though. What Menace said is this: we could have given the pimp not one location, we'd have given him multiple locations. But he says, and he would have brought his hotel to the harbor in Freeport so we could get people to stay in his other hotel. See, because the cruise ship is an all-inclusive hotel. And so it was just conversation. The tax concessions they was going to ask for, they would have ended up with everything for free. And so what ministers, when you said, did they hit the ball? The PLP nor the FNM can hit the ball because they're not in the stadium. The game is in the stadium. These guys are outside talking. What you hear is political rhetoric. All ministers have to do is release this blueprint. Release it for us to look at it. Don't say what would have happened, because it would have not fixed Grand Bahama problem. Because there's no reason for a hotel to buy another hotel. What are you going to do? Have them just get off the cruise ship to stay in the hotel room for the sake of staying in a hotel room? It's all garbage. The hotel is not going to be sold as it is. The hotel has a use. In the digital sphere, the hotel has a possibility of being saved, but not as a hotel. The amenities and the things need has changed, the way people stay. So we're not having a conversation in context on anything for Grand Bahama. Not on the Hawks Creek Agreement, not on the owners of the Hawks Bill of the Port Authority, not on government involvement, not on the economic possibilities. But I want people to understand. Ultimately, we, the people, collectively on Grand Bahama and in the Bahamas, can decide on the way Grand Bahama goes by taking responsibility for our economy. If you want to experience growth and development in the Bahamas and ownership, Grand Bahama is the drop-off point. The Port Authority lacks vision. They don't lack land. If you say the Port Authority has 100,000 acres of land and put a value of $200,000 on it, or even $300,000, that means the Port Authority has $30 billion in assets. They don't lack anything. Why aren't they developing it? Why aren't they doing anything? Because the Port Authority don't have leadership that can go to the table and make a demand of the government or come to the Bahamian people and says, here's our vision for Freeport, and here's how Grand Bahama will benefit. That's what the Port Authority lacked, leadership. And that leadership, ultimately, responsibility is with the owners because they choose who leads the Grand Bahama Port Authority. So I don't blame the cashier in the store or the manager. I should hold the owner of the store responsibility. That's where the ownership of the Port Authority should be held responsible. But we should be held responsible because we are the 2/3 owners of this deal. And we are lacking in our involvement and our demands. The licensees of Grand Bahama, which is the quasi-licensee landowners, and the people that hold the license, need to come together and make a demand separate from the chamber. The chamber has not lived up to its expectation. In fact, the chamber is owned by the Grand Bahama Port Authority and some selective interest by virtue of their funding of that.
We out of time, Cialan. We out of time.
I'm simply saying, Grand Bahama, if you want change for the Bahamas, we as a whole must have a conversation in honesty and in context.
All right. I want to end with a comment from one of our Facebook viewers that says, why is the government negotiating? Business requires businessmen. Marinate on that. Time is gone, Cialan. Gotta go. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you to everybody who would have sent a message on Facebook or called in or simply listened. Make sure you like and share the show so we can, broaden the conversation. But it's 4:00, so I got to get out of here. Tomorrow is Friday. You know what that means? TGIF Open Line. We're going to talk about the week that was, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Take care.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on